Hello, and welcome to the podcast that discusses all things gaming. Coming to you from the home of Indie PopCon, Gen Con, and the gaming capital of the world, we are The Established Facts.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 172 of The Established Facts.
172 episodes.
Yeah.
Ooh, vibrating on the TV. Okay. Sorry, cell phones, it's a thing of the day.
Yeah.
Cell phones are a thing?
They are a thing!
No!
What?
Wow!
Skynet has won!
That's true.
Honestly.
It is very true. Okay, so on this episode of The Established Facts, if you have been kind of following our last few episodes, we've been doing a little bit of convention coverage because, as we all know, here in the lovely, confusing weather state of Indiana, it is the start of our convention time. So I believe Anime Crossroads is probably one of the first conventions on the calendar for the Indiana area. Mm-hmm. And then we've got HoosierCon and Indiana Comic Con, and there are several other really good conventions that the state and the city of Indianapolis both host throughout the spring, summer, and then into the fall. So we're going to talk about some of the conventions we've already attended and a little bit about some of the conventions that we are planning on attending for the spring, summer, and a little into the fall of 2018, and then maybe even leave you with a couple of cool, fun con tips and some events that we are going to be hosting at some of these conventions. So before we get into that, let's go ahead and go around the table. We have a little smaller table than what we normally do, not in size, just in population. So we'll go ahead and start with ladies first.
I'm Avital.
This is Josh.
And I am, of course, your host, Big Don. So, of the conventions in the end of winter, beginning of spring, confusing climate season that we have had thus far, I believe, Avital, you went to Anime Crossroads.
Yes, I did.
I went to Indiana Comic Con, and then it just so happened that the same weekend as Indiana Comic Con was HoosierCon, which the three of us all attended. So let's kind of start from the beginning of the year. Avital, why don't you give us a little bit of insight on some of the happenings at Anime Crossroads? What was your general opinion, some of the things that you did, and maybe what you're looking forward to for next year's Anime Crossroads?
All right. Well, Anime Crossroads, it's obviously an quote-unquote anime convention. Obviously, that's not the only thing that's there, but that is, kind of a lot of a bigger focus for it. Although, I mean, there were lots of people, like I went to a photo shoot for Ruby, and I went to a photo shoot for Voltron. Like, I was in, costumes from those shows, and so it's not obviously things that are only specifically anime, but there was lots of people. It's held at the Wyndham West over by the old airport, just like HoosierCon is. It is honestly funny how different they feel, simply just like because of there's obviously a lot more people in costume in Anime Crossroads than there are at HoosierCon, because HoosierCon is more specifically just a gaming convention. But Anime Crossroads, they had really a pretty good sized dealer hall, and they also had an artist alley.
Oh, cool.
Like, they were two separate things, and there was a lot of people, honestly, in the little artist alley. And I kept telling myself that I was like, no, I don't need to buy any art. I have too much art, and it's not even up on my walls yet, simply because, like, I'm still working on getting boxes unpacked.
So much art and so many conventions to go to.
I know. I was like, no, I don't need to get anything. And then I saw something that I had to buy for my boyfriend, actually. like, I don't know if anyone has seen Dragon Ball Super at all, but there's a female Saiyan from another universe, and there was an art of her, and it was amazing, and I had to buy it for him because
So you put it on. You had to buy it for him.
yeah,
Right,
it's
right.
for him.
Oh,
and,
okay.
And because it was like 2 for $20.
Oh,
I
so
had to
you
find
got.
the
Of course,
one
you had to
that
get
I
another.
wanted to buy, you know. So, which I actually forget what I bought for myself, but. Anyways, so they had a really cool artist alley, and the vendors hall was nice and big too. There were. I don't think I ever actually went to any panels. I mostly just hung out with friends and like did cosplay things, but there were lots of different panels going on, you know, related to different shows. They had a maid cafe, which is like you get food and like they sing songs and dance and stuff. And
Did you say a maid?
a maid cafe, yes.
Okay.
I have been to one before once.
Is it people like dressed up as maids?
Yes.
Oh, wow.
It's a thing that is
Okay.
common at anime conventions, honestly. Simply because I think there are a lot of anime and manga that are like have maids in them.
Sure.
And in Japan, like maid cafes are a thing.
Of course they are.
Yep. So
I think they can hear us judging without us saying anything.
they can see
Just by
your
the
face,
tone
right?
Yeah,
of our
just-
voice.
I tend to be very much a person who says what I'm thinking, but even I don't feel comfortable doing that right now.
Yeah.
That's so strange.
I really like I really like a lot of anime. I'm not as up to date on anything from legitimately probably the last 20 years.
A lot of the stuff I like is older too. So.
Yeah, like the stuff that I got into when it came to anime was stuff that my uncle, who is I think he's getting ready to turn 50, or he's like early 50, 51, something like that. He introduced me to. So like the original Ghost in the Shell and like Ninja Scroll and you know some of those really Akira, you know some of those really like kind of first premiere in the USA when it was Japanimation, when it wasn't anime. You know, everybody referred to it as Japanimation. Then of course, you know, I grew up in the heart of Toonami. So Dragon Ball Z and things like that were definitely a part of my formidable teenage years. So I definitely heart that. And I have been a huge fan of the new Dragon Ball Z movies that they've come out with.
I haven't seen those yet.
Battle of Gods and Resurrection Z, right? No, Resurrection F. Sorry.
I don't know.
Resurrection F.
I haven't seen it yet.
I have not gotten the chance to experience Dragon Ball Super yet, which I hear is awesome.
It's really good. Honestly, Jason, my boyfriend, was watching it, and you know, and I was there, and I ended up watching some of it too. And I had only just had a little bit of exposure to Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z. Like I had read some of the Dragon Ball mangas just because they were at my library, and I was like, oh, this is cool. And like I enjoyed that so much that like I used my credit card reward points to buy like all of Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z off Amazon. So I have Dragon Ball on DVD and like all of Dragon Ball Z on Blu-ray.
That's awesome.
Like the whole like 9 seasons
yeah.
on Blu-ray.
Yeah, it's worth it. Though. It's worth it.
Right. And so we're on season 4. We just started season 4 of Dragon Ball. And honestly, like he hadn't even watched all of Dragon Ball simply because more of Dragon Ball Z was playing, you know, when he was watching or whatever. But I'm really getting into it, and it's a lot of fun. But like the first things that got me into anime was like Speed Racer and Robotech.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like that first started piquing my interest, and then like even though we didn't have cable, it was the things that were on like Adult Swim, like Trigun.
Yeah.
And Cowboy Bebop.
Yeah.
Inuyasha. Like those are some of my like things that are always will be favorites, especially Trigun. Honestly, I really like that.
Right.
Yeah.
That's the one with Vash the Stampede.
Vash the Stampede.
Yeah. You know, I have not. That character has always interested me. I've never seen that series, but that and Vampire Hunter D I know is a huge, like has a huge fan base.
Sure.
And it's always something that I've been interested in checking out.
I haven't actually seen any of Vampire Hunter D, but
yeah.
Anyways, Anime Crossroads. So besides, they had lots of panels about different things. Okay, no, I'm wrong. I went to the Voltron panel on Sunday, and that was fun. You know, because sometimes they're just people talking about things. But like the panel I went to, there's people that are in cosplay as characters from the show, and that ask questions in character and out of character. It's a lot of fun. They had a cosplay masquerade type thing, like a lot of conventions do. Saturday night there's a electronic dance party.
Mm-hmm.
Which was actually pretty fun. Just kind of, it's not like a huge thing I'm into, but it's kind of fun to just go with your friends and kind of not actually dance like I know anything about it, but just have fun. And people were pretty cool. There were a couple instances of like people being creepers on my friends, but and that's unfortunate. But like a vendor stopped us and told one of my friends, like, this guy was like following you around and filming you, and so because we hadn't even noticed, but like they were like, they told us, and like that was good of them to let us know that. And then we went and told like the Con HQ, and they were very much all right, come and please tell us and make sure so we know what's going on.
For those listening, con tip number 1: don't be a creeper.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
In general, all aspects of conning, do not be a creeper.
Yes, do not be a creeper.
If you think you might be creeping, don't do it.
Yeah.
Oh gosh. I love
One thing related to not being a creeper: if people are wearing costumes, they understand that people want to take pictures of them. So just ask. Do not take pictures without them knowing, or follow them around and record them or anything like that. That's being creepy and weird. Like, don't do that.
There is a difference between just kind of taking the group shot, like, look at all these people, and you just happen to be in the shot.
Right.
But just directly, I'm going to put like 75% of the frame of this person. That's creepy.
Yeah.
Ask first.
Right.
Yeah. Because cosplayers, they don't like wear the costume, be like, no, you don't take my picture. We understand that people want to take pictures of them.
You wear the costume to show off the character in the costume that you have affinity for.
But yeah.
Yeah.
It's the whole thing of cosplay is not consent. It doesn't just include, physically touching people, because certainly don't do that, but it also includes pictures. Just ask.
Right, absolutely. Well, and I think, I was having, I've had a couple conversations with some people that are in the cosplay community, and though I really love cosplay and I really appreciate those, I'm not normally one to take a lot of pictures of cosplay. Mm-hmm. I'm normally one to enjoy it from a distance.
Sure.
And I might even stop and ask them, like, if I see somebody in a cosplay, but I don't know the character, but it's just a really cool cosplay, I might stop and say, hey, what is your cosplay of? And,
right,
it's really cool.
Yeah.
A lot of times for myself, when it comes to that sort of thing, if I'm at a convention with my sons and they see somebody, I'll walk up and be like, hey, my kids really love your costume. Do you mind if we take a picture with you and our boys? And, of course, they'll, normally, 9 times out of 10, they're like, absolutely. And then my immediate response is, okay, cool. As we've talked about for the last 7 years, let's step over to the side.
Another con tip number 2.
And then take pictures, because my
Please
boys
do not stop in the middle of the hallway to take pictures. Try and get out of the way.
Right. And my sons love people in costume, and they see them a lot of times faster than Bonnie and I see them. So yeah, absolutely. Josh, your creeper rule, it's just cracking me up inside.
Don't be a creeper.
Don't be a creeper. And the reason I brought up the having some conversations lately is I made a comment to somebody I was having a conversation with that just because you have a 5-minute talk with somebody that you're a fan of does not give you consent or permission to then be more than just cordial.
Right.
Just because you may be in a Doctor Who cosplay, or maybe you're in your steampunk Kaylee cosplay, and I love that character from Firefly, and you and I relate in a 5 to 10 minute conversation, does not give me the right to immediately give you a hug just because you stopped and talked to me.
Right.
Like, there's still those lines and limitations that you need to adhere to, and I know that there are, especially, I feel like, and this is something that I think we can kind of address as we're continuing through this conversation of different conventions that we've gone to. the con scene can be a very tricky environment because you have people like myself and like Josh and like Avital and like my brother who have no problem whatsoever with being in a position to converse with people we've never met that are fans of stuff we don't know anything about because we enjoy the interaction of people who are passionate about something.
Right. Yeah.
And I think that as podcasters and as people who have an affinity towards what a lot of people might consider like the strange or the geeky or the weird or the nerdy stuff, like that's the stuff that we love. You know, of course, we love a lot more than that too. You know, some of us are sports fans and we get into all kinds of different things and stuff like that. But in general, convention scenes are a dynamic of a lot of people from very different worlds. You have people who, there are a lot of introverted people that I work with that love to go to conventions because they want to see these stars that they've idolized for their whole life. And then they go to those conventions and they get a chance to meet them, and that's really cool. But then they realize they're also surrounded by several thousands of people, unless you go to a small con. But typically when you go to like the big Comic Cons and the pop culture conventions and Gen Con and stuff like that, you are surrounded by several thousand people.
Yep.
And if you are socially awkward or if you have anxiety issues and things like that, that can be a very hard thing to deal with. But I think that what people who go to conventions need to understand on both sides of the issue, and obviously there's perspectives, and perspectives are always going to change what side of the issue you're on at the time. But in my opinion, if you are not socially awkward, you need to understand that you are surrounded by people that are only out of their house for the next 3 hours because they want to meet Jonathan Frakes, because they are huge Star Trek buffs. And outside of that, they don't really do the social thing. You know, maybe they're not on social media, or maybe social media is the only social thing that they do because they have such anxiety issues. And then you have people who are like me and like Josh, who are extreme extroverts, and we live off of the energy that comes from a convention. Well, those are two diametrically opposed personalities. And if we are not addressing or at least aware of the fact that some of the people we might encounter throughout this weekend have very different ideas of what their comfort level is, it can ruin somebody's convention. And it's something to be mindful of, and it's something that I think the more and more we kind of address our awareness to that, the easier it will be. But I think that it can be difficult. I think there needs to be forgiveness on both sides. You need to have people who are awkward and maybe make poor decisions. You need to look at them and be like, okay, I understand you're excited. Maybe you're not used to these kind of social situations. I need you to back off a little bit. But then you also need those same people to understand where that line is and to say, okay, now you're being a creeper. Now you're being completely inappropriate. And then in the same respect, the people who are dealing with that kind of stuff, they need to be more open to the fact that not everybody's going to be okay with you just coming up and hugging them and grabbing them and or in general just following them around with a camera. Like, that's just weird.
Yep.
That's just weird. You know, we got enough Big Brother issues to deal with. We don't need you walking around with your phone.
So Avital went to the convention, did some cosplay photo shoots, bought some stuff, dealt with a few creepers, and all in all, sounds like you had a good time.
Oh, yeah.
What are you looking forward to the next time you go?
Honestly, a lot of times at conventions, especially Anime Crushers, it's wearing cosplays and hanging out with friends. Is a lot of it. I mean, I like seeing all the things that are for sale, but like I have so much stuff already, I don't really need to buy anything. But really, just like, you know, getting to be around everyone and seeing all of their cool costumes, getting to wear my costumes, and seeing all my friends that I don't normally get to see. It's really a lot of fun. So.
Donald.
Yes, sir.
Indiana Comic Con.
Yes.
Same weekend to Hoosier Con.
It was. And so I took my wife, Bonnie, and my brother, Josh, and our 3 boys. So there were 6 martyrs at Indiana Comic Con. We didn't go the whole weekend. We only went for portion of Friday, which was opening day for the con. And we went for 2 specific reasons, and then just the general opportunity to kind of walk around the convention and check out some fun stuff. The 2 specific reasons are named Walter Jones, who, if you are not familiar with that name, is the original Black Power Ranger from Mighty Morphin, and also known as Zach on the show. And then Jonathan Frakes, who is Commander Will Riker from Star Trek: The Next Generation. And we wanted to meet both of them, and then also when it came to Walter Jones, I also happened to have purchased a Black Power Ranger pop that I wanted to have autographed, and so we went to Walter's line first, and he was such a cool guy, very, very nice. We kind of laughed for a minute. He was talking to our 2 older boys, Joe and Dan, and of course they're huge Power Ranger fans in general. They love all the Power Rangers and have watched 28 different versions of them that I have never even heard of. And then they knew who he was, as far as like when I said the Black Power Ranger from Mighty Morphin, Zach, and they knew who his character was. Obviously, they did not know who Walter Jones was, but that's okay. And then we got up to the front of the line, and he signed the pop, and we're sitting there talking for a minute, and he was talking to the boys and asked if they were having a good time and stuff. And of course, the entire time, my brother and my wife and myself are just like, this is freaking Zach from Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, and we're geeking out. And he kind of looked up, and we're just kind of smiling and, being very polite and allowing him to talk to the boys. And he said, I realize every time I come to a convention that I'm so used to, just from the past 20 years of being a Power Ranger celebrity, talking to kids at conventions and talking about Power Rangers and stuff, that the kids that I'm talking to now are the children of the people who were actually the fans of me when I was in Mighty Morphin. And we were just kind of cracking up about that point. He was like, and it's so funny because you guys were the ones, the 30-year-olds that are standing here are the ones that watched me when I was on Mighty Morphin. And we just kind of, we're just like, yeah, yeah. What time is it? Morphin time? Yeah, okay.
What a great sound on a podcast.
But no, he was Walter Jones is an exceptional guy. He was very, very cool. And then Bonnie waited in line to see Jonathan Frakes. We did not get an autograph from him, which I kind of regret because I think it would have been really cool. But Bonnie did get a chance to meet him and just kind of talk about how much she really appreciated his work. And of course, she's a huge Star Trek fan. Mm-hmm. He is actually... I don't remember if he is like the president or the vice president or executive producer or whatever for pretty much everything Star Trek.
Well, and I think he was an executive producer on The Librarians.
Yeah.
So
and he
I've never gotten a chance to see that.
Well, they just canceled it too early. Thanks a lot, TNT. But if you get a chance to see it, it's 5 seasons. It's really good.
Just because I really enjoyed,
I'm not happy about it.
I really enjoyed the Librarians movies. Like, those were so much fun.
Yeah.
Well, it's that, except like the first season there's more, and then he comes back and is there for like the rest of it. It's great.
Nice.
Okay, Librarians. Awesome. Who knew they were so interesting?
If you haven't seen
Noah
it,
Wiley.
If you enjoyed Warehouse 13, is that what it was?
I think so.
Warehouse 13. It's almost that exact same premise.
Haven't seen.
I've never seen it.
Oh, it's so good. Another one that got canceled too early. Thanks, Sci-Fi. Sorry.
It's no longer just thanks, Fox.
It's not just Fox.
Everybody's
Just
doing it.
everyone. Stop canceling
Everybody's like, well, Fox, they canceled Firefly so early. We got to jump on board with this train.
Yeah, well, they did cancel Family Guy after 3 seasons, but brought it back, and it's still on the air. So
Well,
saying, Firefly.
They finished 28 times.
No, Netflix. Now Netflix.
X-Files has been dead for...
Netflix.
Yeah, I'm just saying.
Oh yeah,
Roseanne. Roseanne.
Very good episode.
I was having a conversation about Roseanne in the car earlier today.
I mean, Netflix is just swooping in to be like, "Oh, you canceled this? Well, I'll take that.
Oh yeah.
Well, I'll take
Because
that."
they can.
And everyone's like, "You're on Netflix."
Well, with the librarians, the show creator has already said he's trying to farm it out already. Like he's already said if they're going to
Nice.
cancel, then I've got more of a story to tell. So
Sure. That's awesome.
sorry.
Anyways.
No, it's okay. It's totally fine.
Second sidetrack.
I love your passion.
We went from
I'm
don't be
totally-
creepers to stop canceling our TV
Stop
shows.
canceling our TV shows. That's right.
It's not a con tip, but it's a tip.
Stop killing what we love. So Bonnie got to meet Jonathan Frakes. He was a very nice guy. Getting back to the convention scene, after we got a chance to do that, we were going to try and meet Sean Astin because he was also there. For
So was the
Stranger
rest of the
Things.
convention trying to meet Sean.
Well, and there was a really, by the time we got done getting in those lines, there was a really long line for him. There was an exceptionally long line for Matthew Lewis, who was only there for one day, which really kind of honked a lot of people who bought Saturday passes off because he wasn't able to actually go all weekend. However, the Phelps twins were there, which was really cool. They were there on Saturday and Sunday, which our friend Kayla got.
I love the Weasley
Fred and
twins.
George
Don't look at me
Weasley.
like
Fred
that.
and George Weasley.
No, I know that.
I'm
but
just
she's all
glad they were
excited to
there.
go.
She didn't go. Oh, okay.
My sister-in-law and her friend
Oh, good.
saw them.
This is the judgmental
and
portion
Kayla
of the podcast. I
saw
forgot,
them.
Yeah, Kayla got a picture with
Yes.
him. Yeah. So then we walked around the convention. I ran into our friend Jen Smith.
Congratulations, by the way.
Yes.
Expected baby number 2.
Her and her husband Sean are going to have a little boy, I believe is what they said, which is really exciting. She was there selling her new book and her old book. And I say old because it's, a year old.
Her original book.
Her original book, her first book, and her second book in the series.
Burner and reader of the Affinity series.
The Affinity series. Sold out
Of the paperback.
of the paperback.
Nice.
For both of those books.
That's awesome.
That convention, yeah, which is really cool. I did happen to procure, for those of you who are going to PopCon, I know, foreshadowing, if you're going to PopCon, we always do a draw. Well, we have for the last 3 years done a drawing. I actually procured a hardback copy of both of those books and had her sign them for us. Oh my gosh. And then we're also giving away the Walter Jones pop that he signed.
You should just let me read them before we give them away.
You can borrow my copies because I bought 2
I have
copies.
copies too.
Yeah, there are plenty.
We support our friends on
That's
Tall.
right. We
I don't know who this person is.
totally
I'm
fine.
sorry.
I'll help you out. I'll help you out. Or Josh will. Since we're at Josh's house, you could probably borrow his before you borrow mine.
Eventually, I'll have to read them too.
Yeah, that's true. Did you ever read Danielle's book? On a side note, on our third
Silent Stop
tangent,
Chronicles? Yes, I did read that
Yeah.
one.
The Silent Step Chronicles, book 1. ...
Okay, I never read the collection of short stories from the Fear the Con
The
people.
Baby Shoes books? Got those too. Haven't read them either.
Horrible. You are horrible. I don't even own those, so at least I don't support in any way, shape, or form. That's right. Don't support your friends unless you want to support your friends, and then do. Tip number 3.
That was a con tip also, by the way.
Yeah.
Yes,
Think about, does that fit in the con bucket or not?
kind of. Depending, are your friends at the con?
They should be.
That's right. Oh my goodness gracious! Even when there's only 3 of us,
I know.
it's okay. Walked around the rest of the convention. And the only other thing that we purchased while we were there were Legos minifigures,
Fun.
Okay.
which was cool because
Yeah.
the boys
Those are
they
cool.
got some new. They got Venom and Iron Spider and a couple other fun Marvel characters that they wanted.
I like it.
So I really love comic book characters. I've never been a comic book collector. I enjoy reading comics and checking out stories but I was introduced to comic books through the X-Men animated series in the 90s and stuff like that. So I was not necessarily there to purchase a bunch of comic books. Joe is really into comic books and graphic novels and stuff like that. So we were looking for him, and then he told me he wanted a figurine. And I was like, well, do you want a comic book or do you want a figurine? And he was like, I really want a figurine. And I was like, okay. So we started looking at the figurines. Well, Tip number 4. Have in your mind the fact that most of the figurines that are there are collector's items and are going to be probably $15 to $20 a piece lowball. Lowball.
Yeah.
Because we were looking at some really cool Spider-Man figures from, 50 feet away. And then I walked up and I was like, wow, these are really cool. And $70. And that's, sorry, buddy, not going to happen. So, yeah. But they did get a bunch of minifigs, which was a lot of fun for them. We had a good time. We were there for about 3 hours, which, in my opinion, 4 hours is probably the appropriate amount of time that you could have spent there and seen everything. Because it's not as big of a haul as, say, PopCon or Gen Con or anything like that. It's a big haul compared to Anime Crossroads or HoosierCon, but it's not. There's a lot of other things you can do at Indiana Comic Con to help support them. Like if you want to go to a panel, they also have a really cool arcade and a bunch of things like that, which is cool. Which I will say is kind of an advantage to having a little bit smaller exhibit hall. Because unlike with Gen Con, you could literally spend all 4 days in the exhibit hall.
Yep.
And just barely see everything and experience everything. So it's nice that you have a convention that is a 3-day con and you can actually get through the exhibit hall in half of the first day if you're not necessarily shopping, if you're just kind of looking to see what's there. And then you want to, come back around and hit up a couple of vendors. I think 4 or 5 hours in the Indiana Comic Con exhibit hall is good. And then you have lots of time to do other really cool things with people that are there at the con. So, yeah, I had a really good time. The boys had a really good time. My wife had a good time. I don't know if my brother had a good time, but I don't care. And then after that, we went to HoosierCon that same day. And we were there for the rest of the weekend, for the most part. But it was good. It was good. I am interested to see, looking forward in the future for Indiana Comic Con. They just changed their date in a very dramatic way for 2019.
Yeah, late August, early September.
And September, yeah. It's like August 30th is the first day of the con.
Or something like
I think
that,
2nd of September is their con date for next year.
Which means Labor Day's the Monday after, isn't it?
No, it's Labor Day weekend is when they're doing it, which is really interesting to me because, this year they did it Easter weekend.
Sure. Well,
and the last 2 years they've done it Easter weekend, which I feel like
was a bad move.
In my opinion, because you're in Indiana and it's still a very conservative state in a lot of ways. Maybe not necessarily in our socioeconomic foundations, but in our conservative, family and faith and things like that foundation, Easter Sunday especially, is kind of a hard sell for people to spend time with their family, not always to go to a convention. Now, granted, they still had a ton of people that were there, which I'm really glad that they had a lot of success the last 3 years that they've done it Easter weekend. But even last year, we made the comment that it's kind of, you're kind of shooting yourself in the foot for potential con goers who want to go on a Sunday. Maybe that's the only day, but then you put it on Easter Sunday, and it's like, okay, well, I can't commit to that.
I agree completely. The advantage to doing it that weekend, though, is that the majority of people have the Friday off. So they actually had an opportunity to have an increase in traffic on Friday when they knew there was a decrease coming Sunday. So,
and that's not a bad idea, but I think Labor Day weekend is a much better weekend.
Before we roll into HoosierCon, what are you looking forward to for Comic-Con now in Labor Day weekend next year?
I think really, because I don't necessarily know what to expect when it comes to the actual people that they'll have show up, because I use Comic-Con as an opportunity to go and meet some of like the industry people and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. Again, I'm not a comic book collector, so there are, as far as purchasing things, there's a limited menu of things that I am looking for at Comic-Con. But I've not had a bad experience with a convention, so I'm really just kind of excited to see how things might change for them in doing the con during Labor Day weekend, and then what sort of industry stars and things like that are they going to be able to get into for that weekend, since it's going to be a holiday weekend. A lot of people will be off work, and it should be really good for them. I feel like it's going to be really nice because if you take that Friday off, you have a 4-day weekend, and you don't necessarily have to deal so much with con hangover when you go back
Monday
to work. That's
Right.
actually really that's actually a really smart thing.
But it's 1 month after Gen Con.
Yeah.
which is
Yeah.
when I said that I was interested in the event on Facebook, and I had a lot of people commenting about, oh wow, yeah, they moved the date, and they're like they're going to run into people not having money after Gen Con, which I can totally see that. I don't know if I'll go to Comic-Con or not. If I do, it'll probably be, why I go to most cons, which is to hang out with people. Sure. Because I had a lot of friends, actually, that were at Comic-Con this year. Like, I saw them posting their pictures and, hanging out and cosplaying things and things like that. So, if I go, it'll probably be more to see people than anything else. Because even though, like, I was obviously excited about the guests that they had there, I don't generally stand in line and pay for pictures or autographs or anything. I've only done that for one person. That was Jewel State, because Kaylee.
Well, yeah. Because Kaylee.
One thing that I'm really interested in seeing happen is the dynamic that may change between Indiana Comic-Con and Indy PopCon, because I know it's always a struggle for those two conventions to get really good stars for one or the other because they're so close to each other. So I don't know what the date is yet, obviously, for Indiana or Indy PopCon for 2019, but it would be interesting to see if they possibly push their date up,
like a May
date, so that they have a lot more time. For those of you who are not familiar with like the way that they set up a lot of the contracts, there are a lot of times clauses in their contracts for stars that within 90 days they can't attend another convention in that same market. Mm-hmm. So a lot of times you'll get, like, for example, you'll get Sean Astin at one, but if there's another convention within 90 days in Indiana, you won't see him at another one depending on the convention that's involved. So it'll be really cool to see if PopCon pushes their date up forward a little bit so that they have a lot more freedom, and maybe you'll see stars that are going to be at both. I think that'd be really cool. Mm-hmm. So, and then also in concert with Gen Con.
Sure.
They may change up. You might get people at from the Critical Role or like Geek and Sundry or something that can actually do like an Indy PopCon and then also do Gen Con. I think that'd be kind of neat. So yeah.
HoosierCon.
Yes, sir.
HoosierCon was an experience for us this year because it's the first time we've worked the convention. For those who don't know, HoosierCon is put on by a group here in Indianapolis, Indiana in general, called the Hoosier Gamers. It's a kind of an organization that's paid for and supported by its members. It's a $25 annual membership. You can also get in as a high roller, I think, at $100, and then there were different sponsors and vendors that can come to the Wyndham West out by the old airport. And this year we came in as a sponsor, providing podcast coverage, which I apologize now to the Hoosier folks that we were not as on top of it this year, but it was the first time we've done it.
Right.
We also helped promote Fear the Charity's Never Ending Dungeon, which for those that took part, I thoroughly appreciate it. Anyone that donated, whether at the end of the improv show or actually during the event, we're all very appreciative of how it came down. If I read correctly, we were somewhere in the ballpark of $400 to $500 donated.
Oh, that's awesome. That's that was actually going to be a question that I asked you, is if you knew how much was donated.
I have an exact amount. I got to pull it up from Derek. So it was $230 from external sources, and Derek actually put in $250 himself. So
that's awesome. So $480
for the first time. It went off really well during the second slot. And though he did
which was the 1 to 5, right?
Correct.
1 to 5 slot.
He did 3 different slots, and I think the plan is still to do the same thing at Indy PopCon, but we'll have more news on that as it comes. But that happened on Saturday, and it was just a lot of fun. It's a different experience from what the Endless Dungeon was with Crit Confirm, because each slot is a different power level. I think he was doing 7th, 8th, and 9th level characters, all with a different story, all still random. All of the collection of treasure that comes from either people putting in from the donations or monsters and encounters put in by said donations. During the second slot, I actually was the representative from the Established Facts in the slot, and both Don and then Anton, who's been a part of the show before, put in a $35 challenging encounter and targeted my character specifically.
Of course.
Well, Derek realized at about 3:00, right in the middle of the slot, that he hadn't used either of those yet, so he threw them both at us at the exact same time.
Of course.
And
It was $35 well spent.
well, yeah.
Hashtag kill Josh.
Hashtag kill Josh. But God bless the party, because they tried.
And you need to definitely pimp them out, because you had two players that literally have like just started playing role-playing games.
Yeah, everything.
In general.
Yeah.
And they were like, this sounds awesome. I'm going to play.
They got in. They kept me alive. So it was Marty and Carrie. If you're listening, I hope you enjoyed the shout out, because I can't believe I remembered your name. Carrie was the cleric, and she kept me alive until the bitter end. And it was funny because the bad guy went swinging on me with a flurry of blows. And Derek looked at me and goes, "How many hit points do you have left?" And I covered my hit points and went, "How much damage are you going to do?" And
yeah.
So in order to die in Pathfinder, those who've never played Pathfinder, you have to go to negative your con score. And I think my con score was like a 14 or 15. And for a rogue, that's pretty good.
That is.
I went to negative 19 though, so I was pretty good and dead.
Pretty darn dead.
It was good. But Derek, after he kills me, looks at me and apologizes. And I said, "Dude, you just got $70 for the charity."
Yeah, and hashtag kill Josh, bro.
Hashtag kill Josh, man. If killing my character brings more money to the Bodhana group, I'm totally on board.
Absolutely.
So, Neverending Dungeon was a huge success in my book, especially for the first time. And now that we're getting some momentum behind it, hopefully the next... At Indie PopCon and at Fear the Con, it continues rolling down that way, because we love this organization and everything associated with it.
Absolutely.
Dom, why don't you speak on Breakfast Anytime?
Sure, absolutely. So before I do that, I did want to give a shout out, because we're talking about the Neverending Dungeon. I actually got an email from Jack, who's the president of the Bodhana group that we were raising money for at HoosierCon. We'll be raising money for at Indie PopCon for sure. Possibly Fear the Con, I'm not sure. Mm-hmm. But he sent me an email, I think it was Tuesday, and Derek had sent him the donation amount that he had gotten at HoosierCon, and he said, "I couldn't say thanks enough." He received the donation from Derek. I hope the weekend was a blast, and he as of the email, just finished listening to the episode where we had Peter on, so which is cool. And then he says, "In all, I would love the chance to chat, just to chat, and hear any cool stories from the weekend and awesomeness. Thank you again, Jack from the Bodhana group." And so he is super excited that we're still rolling out with this stuff. He keeps sending me emails. "Hey, do you need more stuff? Hey, do you need more promo stuff?" And I'm like, not yet, because I have pictures of the box that he sent me before HoosierCon, and my table was overflowing with promo stuff that he sent us. Dice bags, and he sent us initiative and HP trackers, and all kinds of stuff that we gave away during the HoosierCon weekend, which was really, really cool. So I want to shout out to the Bodhana group again for being such an awesome organization and allowing us to support you, and you supporting us, supporting you. Help us to help you, to help us to help you. You know, that whole thing. So
Helpy.
That's right. So Breakfast Anytime, as we spoke a few episodes ago with our friend and improv mentor Peter Spellows, is our performing is improv. Wow. Yup. Is our improv comedy performance group. Josh and I have been taking improv comedy classes for about 2.5 years now. Well, I guess almost it is 2.5 years. It's closer to 3 now, I think. And have loved it, and will continue to do it. But out of these classes, we have put together a performance group of players, and on Saturday, we actually had a show at HoosierCon. It was a free show, and I think the show was, for our very first show, kind of doing it without a whole lot of experience and direction in front of a live crowd, was a lot of fun. The crowd was great.
We had plenty of direction, Peter. Thank you. Just so you understand, we know you directed us.
Right. I just mean there are a lot of hitches that we have now been able to resolve because we were new to being on the stage and calling our own games and introducing things and hosting stuff. Because for those of you that were able to come to our Breakfast Anytime performance in October of last year, Peter did a lot of that introducing games and stuff like that on his own, which was a blessing and awesome. But we got a chance to actually put those shoes on ourselves, and I think we did a pretty good job. I think that we had a good time. Avital came to the show. And Avital, I want to know, what was your opinion in general, and it's okay if you hated it. I will only cry off the mic. Thanks, Deb. Dr. Deb's in the kitchen going, she hated it.
No, I thought it was fun. I think actually the part that I enjoyed the most was the part where you were reading the lines that people gave you, simply
Blind
because
lines.
It's a room full of geeks, and so it's a lot of them are all these geeky related things.
And it's amazing how well it went together.
Honestly, some of them were just so on point. Like,
so
I was
on
like,
point.
wow, because they're just pulling the lines out that audience members wrote, and they're just fitting. It was great.
Yeah. We are hoping to do more convention shows. There are a couple of other conventions that we are looking into performing at. Nothing has been solidified yet, but we're really looking forward to the opportunity to do that.
Including Indie PopCon?
Well, I was going to say, I was actually going to say, including Indie PopCon, possibly in conjunction in July, if that happens. I think that would be a lot of fun. And then maybe Gen Con?
I haven't done any event submission for that.
We haven't even talked about it, really. So Gen Con may or may not happen. It may just be our attendee con this year. We'll see. But I had a ton of fun doing that. Raised some money for the Bodhana group with that. We just had an open donation. I had several people come up and help donate for that cause, which was really cool. And a lot of people came up, said they had a really good time. And we even had, though it was an 18 or older crowd suggested by our signs, we did have a young lad in the very front row
who had a blast,
which was very entertaining. Yeah, because even though there was some adult humor and things like that, I don't think it was over the top. No. We didn't go blue with it. If you understand that term in performance, we tried to keep it as best to the theme of having.
We sat around PG-13.
Yeah,
we sat around PG-13.
Yeah, I'd say that.
Yeah. It was fun, though.
And I doubt he was 13, but he was there with a parent.
He was definitely
so.
not 13.
Exactly.
But yeah, it was... Thank you, Elbows. Our friend Jeremy. But in general, yeah, I'm glad we had the crowd turnout that we did. I'm really excited to see what happened. This was only our first foray in doing shows at conventions. I think it's only going to get better. It's only going to get bigger. It's only going to be more and more fun on top of that. So.
And it's surprising how often you can use the airspeed velocity of an unladen swallow.
Yeah, how many times in the same show?
At least 3 times it came up.
Yeah, I think so. 5.
So as a podcast, we got to meet a lot of people. And other than the little hiccup about having power, not having power, which big shout out to Simon, who was so helpful to both us and Alan McFarlane, who was there promoting Treacherous and DNA Games. But other than that, we got to meet a lot of really neat people. We were right by the game rooms, met some
very interesting
people. Some came to the show. Some sat there for 30 minutes and talked to us about space combat and a few other things. But it was... Otherwise, it was really good. I know Avital and I were there most of Friday, and Don, Avital, Lance was there on Saturday. Prime helped out on Saturday as well. And then Sunday, Avital manned the table pretty much by herself until the end of the day because
she's a champ.
Exactly. And all in all, I think it was a really neat experience. Lance and Don got an opportunity to jump on the official Hoosier Con podcast, Gaming with Scott. I'll give them credit. They're the official podcast for that con, and they've earned it. So. That's right. How did that go?
It was an insane amount of fun. I know several of the guys on the Gaming with Scott podcast. Several of the people, Jade. Several of the people on the Gaming with Scott podcast, which was really cool. Josh Jackson and Scott Toriano and John Garlick and Jade Duguay were the hosts for that show, and they had Lance and I sit down, and we talked about characters and building character backgrounds, and of course that is something that I'm extremely passionate about.
Very much.
And it was cool because they were talking about a game that they had demoed the day before, which I really want us to get a hold of these guys, and I know they tried to get a hold of us to try and do something at the con, but obviously we kind of ran out of time. Dream Chasers. The guys who created Dream Chasers.
I took their card and I gave them our card.
Yes.
He gave me his card. And
we need to talk to them.
We will be in contact with you guys. We're really looking forward to sitting down and putting some stuff together. But apparently they have in their setup, I believe they have where you RP your background, which is really cool. So I'm really excited about that. And the Gaming with Scott guys, we sat down and had a conversation. I think we talked for about an hour. We could have talked for a lot longer, but we had a really good time just chatting. I will say, I noticed for myself, as a podcast host, it was very hard for me to not try and
take over,
be
from
the
Scott?
guy. Yeah. I had to remember that it was not my podcast, that I was just on a podcast. So, but that was a lot of fun.
Yes,
and,
Donald, there are other people that do this besides us.
And that's cool. But they could always benefit from a Big Don. Is all I'm saying.
They got a big Scott. I think that works out pretty well for
them. That's true. And Josh Jackson is no schlup himself. He's a tall dude, and he's got some wide shoulder. I'd hate to take a hit from him, is all I'm saying.
Okay.
But we also talked off the mic a little bit about their Marvel RP game and a Star Trek RP that they do. Now, if you're not familiar with Gaming with Scott, I'll kind of give you, even though I've literally just talked about them for the last 10 minutes, if you're not familiar with their podcast, they do actual plays. They record themselves playing their role-playing game, and then they air it. And so they have a Marvel game that they play on the first Friday of every month, and they have a Star Trek game they play on the third Friday of every month. Now, I don't know what other games that they play throughout that time in a month, but there may be a Big Don showing up every once in a great while with them, playing a intermittent character. We'll see. I think it's going to be fun.
I'm farming out my podcasters. Please go, Hark. Spread your wings and fly.
Yeah, farming out. Hey, those guys are gamers. Sweet, let's game. Yeah, let's do this. So that was a lot of fun. Those guys are really funny, really silly guys, and I look forward to whatever happens with the Established Facts and the Gaming with Scott relationship. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. We'll have to get them over here on our show and play something silly. And the nice thing is they are a PG-13 podcast as well, so I think it'll probably be a lot of fun, and maybe a few Mario jumps, but nothing too crazy. It's not like a Mikey Mason show. I love you, Mikey. Speaking of Mikey Mason, we are just kind of very quickly. Let's talk a little bit about, unless you would like to talk more on Hoosier Con.
I have one thing I want to say.
You go for it, Avital. Let me hold my segue.
There was a really fun moment that Lance and I had on Saturday.
Oh yes, I forgot. I meant to ask you about this, and I forgot.
There was a young couple, and according to their name tags, his name was Wings, which whatever, it's their name tag name, and her name was the not insane Amanda.
Well, at least we know there's one out there.
Her gamer tag is the not insane, and her name is Amanda. So, and Lance, as he asks a lot of people, asked about what kind of games they like to play, and Amanda was telling us about Don't Starve Together. Don't Starve is it's kind of a top-down, just like a little survival type game. It's more kind of. It's not like serious looking, as in like it's more kind of cartoonish animation and not This is not exact. I've watched people play it on YouTube. Anyways, but
it's called Don't Starve.
Yes.
Okay.
And then Don't Starve Together is you can play it with your friends online.
Okay.
But she was telling us about things that happen in the game. And there's a creature called a moose goose. And so she drew this for us. She drew a little moose goose for us because she's an artist, like she's on DeviantArt and stuff. And I'm pretty sure it's The Not Insane is her name on there. Also, but she drew us a little moose goose, and she was telling us about things that happen in the game. And she's like, one thing that happens is raining frogs. Like literally, frogs fall down from the sky, and that's a thing that you have to avoid being killed by.
Okay.
Because everything's trying to kill you. It's a survival type little game. And so Lance then said that Raining Frogs and the Moose Goose sounds like a band name, and he dubbed Wings and Amanda as Raining Frogs and the Moose Goose, and Amanda is the Moose Goose, and Wings was Raining Frogs. And they thought that was pretty funny. Like literally, Wings, he came back like later in the day or like the next day. He's like, "What was my name again?"
Yeah. Well, he came back with like a whole family group with him too.
Oh yeah, and he had other people like talk.
He had like 3 or 4 other people that were there talking about it.
Honestly, like for such a small convention, like having people, like several people throughout the weekend, bring people back to the table and talk to us, whether just to talk about that podcast and also tickets for the raffle, which we had the big raffle on Saturday and went well, and then I had a little raffle on Sunday, which there was still, I think, for that Sunday, on Easter Sunday, was a decent amount of people. Like, I literally had people that would walk by and they're like, "Ooh, those dice bags are really pretty." I'm like, "Well, we're giving them away 2:00. Which, like, I don't have, a huge amount of dice. And I'm like, I have a thing. I put my dice in. Okay. I don't need a bazillion dice bags. People are like, "Ooh, dice bags, pretty."
Yep.
So, but anyways, it was a lot of fun. And just like, obviously it's smaller and it's more intimate because you end up seeing people more often.
Right.
As a walk back and forth. It's a small convention.
It's in a hotel.
It's a hotel. I mean, it's a convention center hotel. Or, I mean, they have
conference
rooms,
center hotel.
A conference center hotel, yes. So, they have the rooms for things. But anyways, it was a lot of fun. And so
I think several times you and I also, while we were sitting at the table, commented, especially on Saturday, that we had more people stop at our booth because we had a bowl. We always have.
Yes.
Always have a bowl
Lance.
of candy. And Lance came up with an ingenious idea, which is going to literally be, I think, the ingenious idea
It's going to happen forever now. It's great.
Thank you, Lance. You have established.
It's an established fact.
It is an established fact
that we have to have
that
this
we
sign.
will always have candy, and we will always ask for jokes for free candy.
Yeah, he says, "Tell us a joke, win free candy."
Yeah, which I love. Yeah, win free candy.
And so people would be like, they'd like see the sign, they'd be so excited, they'd come up and be like, "Okay, I have a joke for you." I'm like, "Okay, I want to hear it."
Yeah,
I don't remember a lot of them, but some of the best ones came when like a 3 or 4 year old cut.
Oh, yeah.
I have a joke for you. You can tell me a joke whenever you want, you adorable thing.
right, exactly. Do you remember any of the jokes that anybody told you guys?
What's red and bad for your teeth?
That was one of my favorites.
A brick.
A brick. Yeah.
I know, honestly, I'm easily amused, so
Right.
I'm like, yes, jokes, please.
And of course, that one followed the what's brown and sticky? A stick.
A stick.
Yeah. My favorite joke from that weekend from a kid was, "Why can't you hear a pterodactyl pee?" Because the pee is silent. And I lost it. I was like, that is hysterical. And of course, again, coming out of a 6-year-old's mouth, it makes it even funnier because you're like, wow, that was legit. That was legit. So, yeah, we will definitely have a tell me a joke, win free candy at our booth from now on.
Yep. Wherever we happen to be.
Back to Mikey Mason. In June.
Your segue.
That's right. In June, Mikey Mason is going to be at Fear the Con, which we will also be at. Mm-hmm. So, very quickly, because I know that we're getting towards the end of our time, I would like to kind of just go over what cons we are expecting to be at. So I know in June, at the beginning of June, I believe it's the first weekend in June, is Indie PopCon.
8, 9, 10.
That's right. And
It's the first full weekend.
It's the first
of June.
full weekend of June, yeah. Which we will be at.
No, it's not.
No,
because
it's the second
full
weekend.
weekend. Yeah.
It's the second
It's the
full
second
weekend after the first full weekend of June.
Friday is the first, so it's the
Yeah.
second weekend.
It's the third weekend.
This is why you just give dates. It's June 8th, 9th, and 10th.
June 8th, 9th, and 10th at the Indiana Convention Center. We will be there, not only exhibiting, also running the never-ending dungeon. So please, and again, raising money for the Bodhana Group. You can definitely check them out. I believe it's the bodhanagroup.org on the webs.
Yeah, people will not know how to spell that.
The interwebs.
But we'll have it in the show notes.
Yeah, exactly. We'll have notes. Yeah. Josh is looking at us like the show notes. The Bodhana Group.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, of course.
B-O-D-H-A-N-A.
If it's not in the show notes, they'll be in the Friends of the Show
Yeah, absolutely.
page.
So you can find their link on our website. Definitely check them out. Definitely support them. Help us raise money for them. We want to help them continue to help other people and give back to that community of gamers and people that we love. So Indie PopCon, 8th, 9th, and 10th of June. The 22nd and 3rd, 23rd and 4th.
22nd, 23rd.
22nd, 23rd of June
is
is
Friday and
Fear
Saturday.
the Con, right? Which is Friday and
And where is
Saturday
Get
in
Down?
St. Louis at the Drury Inn in Brentwood, which is like a suburb of St. Louis. It is a free convention. If you are in the St. Louis or surrounding area within, I would say, probably an hour drive or so, you probably don't need a hotel room, but I would say if you have to drive more than an hour or so, it might be a good idea to consider getting one that's close.
But, if you want to get a hotel room anyways, that's good. The hotel
Yeah.
will be happy about
Oh,
that.
yeah, absolutely.
The Drury-
Stay in the room
The
block.
jury has been awesome.
Stay in the room block if you can.
Yeah.
And if the room block is taken up, they have other rooms, and there's a Hampton right across the street, right? Wasn't it Hampton?
No, the Hampton Inn it's only 12, 13 minutes away.
Oh,
though.
okay. I thought there was
It's in
another-
There are
it's
other
in
hotels in
Maryland
the
Heights.
area.
The one that we used to stay in was in Maryland Heights.
Oh, that's right.
Which is
Yeah,
just
yeah.
around the highway from them.
Got it.
So there's tons of hotels in the area, but the Drury obviously is where it's being hosted. So if you can get a hotel room there, if
There's
you
lots
get
of free food.
lots of free food, and there's a Michael's across the street,
And a Target.
and a Chick-fil-A
walk.
and Chick-fil-A behind it. And then July 4th weekend, which is the
It's 6th, 7th, and 8th.
6th, 7th, and 8th, yeah.
'Cause the 4th is on
the 4th is on a
Wednesday.
Wednesday, yeah.
Yeah.
So the 6th, 7th, and 8th of July is In Conjunction, which is a sci-fi fantasy con that we do here in Indy. It is at the Shadeland Avenue Marriott Hotel at their conference center.
It's really close to the I-70-465 intersection
Yes.
on the east side of Indianapolis.
And
To give you a
then
general idea.
it's where they hosted Days of the Dead for several years. I think they do Days of the Dead now at the Wyndham as well. So that's definitely going to be a thing. That may be something else that we exhibit at, or at least maybe try and do a Breakfast Anytime show at, which I think will be a lot of fun.
That would be cool.
And then, of course, Gen Con is the first official weekend of August, which is the, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and 5th?
Yeah. 2 through 5.
yeah.
That sounds right.
Yeah, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and 5th of August. And we will be there walking around, playing games, checking things out, spending way too much money on stuff, and having a great time.
That is a busy 2 weeks for me.
Yeah.
Well, the week before, I'm on vacation in Missouri at the Lake of the Ozarks. And then the weekend right before Gen Con, I'm in Nashville at AkaiCon, which is another convention.
Okay.
And then it's Gen Con. I'm taking my vacation, my 4 weeks of vacation in two-week chunks
Nice.
this year. So
Well, I
that's
mean,
all
you
the
know,
vacation I get.
right.
But that's fine.
Yeah, I was going to say, when do you get your new vacation?
Or it's a year.
January, calendar year?
Yeah, and
So January 1?
we have to pick our vacation in like November.
Ahead of time? Yeah.
All of it.
Oh,
for the whole
gosh.
year.
That's
because
a horrible
union.
decision. Yeah. be
So
cool.
I have to know what I want, but I get what I want because I'm
Sure.
pretty high on the seniority list. Anyways,
Sure. Okay.
beside the point.
So those are all of the events we're going to be at. Again, please check out the Bodhana Group online. You can find them on our website. And we want to thank you, Jack, and your entire group of heroes, which is what they refer to all of their staff as heroes, which I think is really cool. Jack, the president of the Bodhana Group.
Oh,
Avital.
okay. I was just like,
That's okay. That's right. So everybody who is working with that group, we thank you. Derek, we want to thank you, give you a shout out for running the Never Ending Dungeon for us at HoosierCon and the continued running of the Never Ending Dungeon at PopCon and
continued running of it at Fear the Con.
And whatever else you decide to run that with.
And
running everywhere.
Never
That's
ends.
right. We want to... Just remember, you did this to yourself. We love you, and we thank you so much for helping it out. So, on episode 169... Yes. 169.
If you haven't checked out 170 and 171, the Douglas Cole interview for the Dragon Heresy on Kickstarter, please do so.
Please do so. We established that, just like Dungeons and Dragons, improv helps you roll with it. Mm-hmm. And on episode 172 of the Established Facts, we have established rule number 1: don't be a creeper.
Hold on. It's don't be a creeper.
Right. Sorry. Don't be a creeper. Rule number 2: stop killing the things we love.
Please.
Rule number 3: support your friends' projects unless you don't want to, and then don't. And rule number 4, and always within the top 5: wash your butt. This has been the Established Facts, episode 172. We love you guys. We thank you so much for enjoying your time with us, and we will check you later.
Bye.
Bye.
Deuces.
Please visit us at www.theestablishedfacts.com and our Facebook page, facebook.com/theestablishedfacts. If you would like to support us by buying some merchandise, visit cafepress.com/castingrobot.
Bonus.